Well, good afternoon, everybody. For the last of our Zoom meetings of 2024, um, you, most of you, I hope, noticed that there was a change to the program, and I'm very much obliged to Terry for being prepared to swap round with Sandeep, who's got distracted by the FIP Congress in Shanghai, and had to go out there. So Terry's kindly agreed to swap round the January and February meetings. Now, you may recall, if you've been, and I think most of you were there, in the meeting we had in March where we enjoyed part one of this wonderful display on the southern coast of Europe, Norway. And today we've got part two, which I think will include some stamps on the letters this time. So we're very much looking forward to that. This collection has been nominated a couple of times for international Grand Prix, and in Liberec it finally won one. So it's a wonderful collection, absolutely fascinating story, and I'm delighted to hand over to you, Terry.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me again to give a presentation and the opportunity to talk about the postal history of the Southern Coast, but from 1855 to the General Postal Union on July the 1st, 1875. I would like to emphasize rates, routes, and especially international mail to and from the southern coast of Norway. It's not possible to give a full presentation of every item in the exhibit, but I have selected covers to tell the postal history of the southern coast and major parts of Norwegian postal history in general. The common thread in the exhibit is always International Postal Conventions. I would like to start to talk about what the Norwegian Western Mail Route is and the southern part of this route. Then I will divide the presentation into three parts. The first part is about mail, domestic mail and the Norwegian domestic rates. In part two, I would like to talk about the significant Norwegian hull route and the Hamburg line, with one of the main ports of call on the southern coast and of great significance for Norway. Then about two important Norwegian steamship routes between Denmark and the southern coast. Part three and the last part of the presentation is about rarities to European destinations and mail carried to or from countries outside European continent. The Norwegian Post was established in 1647. At the same time, the important Western Mail Route was established. This route started in Christiania, the capital of Norway, and ended in Bergen over the years. The southern coast has always been significant in Norwegian postal history. The southern coast route started in Brevik, a very important mail handling post office in earlier times, and then further to Flekkefjord, the end of the southern coast. Then briefly about the exchange rates. 1.8 pence is equal to 4 Norwegian shilling. 4 Norwegian shilling was the single domestic rate in Norway from 1855. 1 Lybsk shilling is equal to 2 Norwegian shilling, and 1 silvergroschen is equal to 3 Norwegian shilling. Lybsk shilling was at this time the postage currency used by the Hamburg Post, and silvergroschen by the Prussian Post. 1855, the uniform domestic postage rate in Norway was introduced, and the first Norwegian postage stamp of 4 shilling. According to the law of 1854, the single prepaid rate up to 1 lod was 4 shilling from the beginning of 1855. Double rate 8 shilling between 1 to 2 lod, and so on. 1 lod is equal to 15.56 grams. The single domestic rate in Norway was reduced to 3 shilling from 1872. The letter on the foil is a five-fold rate cover of 20 shilling. It's from Skien on the southern coast in 1865. The rate was between 4 to 5 lod. The next cover is from 1860 and the second highest recorded Norwegian domestic rate and the highest recorded from the southern coast. The rate is 11-fold and 55 shilling to be collected. The single unpaid rate was 5 shilling, 1 shilling more compared to prepaid mail. This unpaid cover is 11 shilling more expensive than a prepaid 11-fold cover. This cover is the only recorded Norwegian mixed franking combination cover with Norway #1 and any other shilling issues. This is a great rarity in Norwegian philately. This cover is from Kristiansand in 1857. The rate is threefold, 12 shilling. According to the regulations, the only obligation was to pay the registration fee in cash with 4 shilling. The 4 shilling coat of arms, Norway #1, was sold out in the beginning of 1857. According to the 1850 convention between Sweden, Norway and Great Britain, there was a close mail route between Christiania and Hull, and between Kristiansand and Hull from 1854. The Hull ship route was of great importance for Norway, and of course to the southern coast. This cover is from Kristiansand in 1858 to Scotland, partly prepaid rate of 15 shilling. According to the convention of 1850, only half of the rate could be prepaid. On the front of the cover in black ink, 6 pence for half an ounce to be collected in Scotland. 1 ounce is equal to 28.35 grams. A company in Leith obtained approval from the Norwegian government in 1851 to carry mail between Bergen, Kristiansand and Hamburg. This was a summer route, usually from March, April to November. The steamship Glen Albyn was used in the route in 1851 and other British ships in 1852. The British owners of the steamship Martello requested permission to operate in the route again in 1853. The plan was to share the route with the Norwegian steamship Bergen. When the Martello didn't appear for his first departure in April 1853, the Norwegian mail privilege was cancelled. The only ship in 1853 in the Hamburg line was the steamship Bergen. Later, several other ships joined the route. This cover is transported from Arendal in the summer of 1856 to Kristiansand by a coastal steamer, and then by the Hamburg line to the Danish post office in Hamburg. From 1855 to 1865, the single rate was 16 shilling from Norway to Hamburg. 4 Southern Coast cover with Norway #1 to Hamburg are recorded. 2 in very poor quality. This quality is excellent, I suppose. The steamship Håkon Jarl was one of the ships in the Hamburg line. Normally, the ships in the Hamburg line had a postal agent on board, and it was possible to send prepaid mail. Franked covers with date stamp from the ships in the Hamburg line are generally rarities in Norwegian philately. This is the only recorded Norwegian cover to France with Håkon Jarl cancellation. It also recorded 1 cover to the Russian Empire and 3 to Hamburg. One of the Hamburg covers is also part of the exhibit. The Russian cover is not from the southern coast. This cover is partly prepaid to Hamburg with 16 shilling. According to the additional convention of 1847 between Turn and Taxis and France, the unpaid rate is 6 décimes from Hamburg to France. This was marked on the front at the Turn and Taxis post office in Hamburg. Partly prepaid mail from Norway to France was only allowed from October 1859 to 1861. The Hamburg line was extended in 1865 to Hammerfest. At the same time, 6 new circular date stamps with the letters A to F were delivered to the steamships in the Hamburg line. The cover is from 1866 with the letter A on the steamship Nidelven. The sea post between Hamburg and Norway was handled by the Danish post office in Hamburg. Due to the Second Schleswig War in 1864, the sea post was taken over by the Hamburg City Post. The hand-stamped Norway Direct was then used on the reverse. On the front of this cover, noted in red, 6.5 silvergroschen in prepaid postage beyond Hamburg. In the upper right corner, noted 1 Lod in black ink. This tells us that the cover has a weight of 15 grams. According to the convention of 1861 between Turn and Taxis and France, the single rate was only up to 10 grams and double rate between 10 to 20 grams. The calculation of this rate of 30 shilling to France is not easy. Single rate to up to 15 grams in Norwegian and sea rate of 8 shilling is straightforward. On the other hand, the rest of the postage was calculated in Danish currency. Danish and German Austrian Postal Union postage were 12 Danish shilling, plus 22 Danish shilling in double French postage. In total, 34 Danish shilling. This is equal to 22 Norwegian shilling. It's not easy. The total of postage of 30 shilling was the rate from 1865 to 1868. There was also a steamship route between Christiania, Kristiansand, and Hamburg. This ship route was not part of the Hamburg line system, but still an important Norwegian sea route to Hamburg. The route was established in 1855, and the steamship St. Olav was sailing the route year by year, only interrupted by a couple of accidents. The cover is delivered 1857 in Hamburg to the steamship St. Olav. Since there was no postal agent on board St. Olav, only unpaid mail could be delivered on the steamship. In Kristiansand, on the southern coast, the cover was redirected to the state-owned steamship Nordkapp and cancelled with the blue Postamskipet Nordkapp, or in English, Steamship Nordkapp. This ship was only a replacement ship on the western coast of Norway, and there are only 3 recorded Norwegian covers with Nordkapp in blue. The steamship route between Arendal and Frederikshavn in Denmark was established in 1871 and of great significance for the western and southern part of Norway. The reverse of the cover is cancelled Arendal-Frederikshavn on board the steamship Dannebrook in 1871. Then from Frederikshavn in Denmark by railway through Denmark to Hamburg, and further to Switzerland under the Convention of 1868 between the North German Union and Switzerland. From 1869 to 1873, the rate was 11 shilling from Norway to Switzerland. On the front of this cover, 2 silver groschen in red, the North German Union and further postage. On the front too, the Swiss share of the postage, 1 silver groschen. This is the only recorded Norwegian cover to or from Switzerland, with the circular date stamp Arendal-Frederikshavn. No stamps of this cover. The port of call was moved from Arendal to Kristiansand in 1872. The reverse of this cover cancelled Kristiansand-Frederikshavn on board the ship Fridtjof in 1873. This hand stamp was in use only for 2 summer seasons, in 1872 and 1873. This letter is from Cuba to Arendal via New York, Queenstown, London, Dover, through Belgium and Germany to Hamburg by railway. The New York Exchange Office marked 7 in black on the front to show a debit of 7 cents to the North German Union for transit fee from Cuba to New York. Blue 9 2/3 silver groschen is the North German Union's debit to Norway. An additional postage of 7 shilling from Hamburg to Norway. In total, 32 shilling on the front to be collected in Norway. This is the only recorded Norwegian cover from Cuba to or from with the circular date stamp Kristiansand-Frederikshavn. This cover is sent from Denmark to Sweden in the winter of 1857. Svinesund was established in 1839 as a Norwegian exchange office close to the Swedish border. It was a transit post office of great importance for incoming and outgoing mail in the winter. The rate is 17 shilling, which implies that the cover is insufficiently prepaid with 1 shilling. As the only Norwegian stamp was 4 shilling coat of arms, 17 shilling was not possible at the time. International mail with Norway number 1 is also recorded to Sweden, the German states, the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies, and the Russian Empire. Denmark is the most difficult destination. There are only 3 Norwegian covers recorded to Denmark. Due to the fact that Norway number 1 covers to foreign destinations are almost recorded from Bergen, There are only recorded covers from the southern coast to Denmark, Sweden, and Hamburg. More stamps. This is the only Norwegian four-colored cover to Great Britain, carried through Sweden to Denmark and Hamburg. According to the Additional Convention of 1859 between Prussia and Great Britain, carried in the common route to London via Belgium. Red 7 silver groschen in German Austrian Postal Union credit on the front of the cover. This is the prepaid postage of 19 shilling from Hamburg to Britain. Additional postage of 18 shilling from Norway to Hamburg. In total, 37 shilling. Because of the reduction of the Swedish transit rate from 1860, the postage from Norway to Britain was reduced from 38 to 37 shilling. And on the front by the Hamburg City Post, cancelled Hamburg paid in red. When prepaid mail was clearly marked, it made the handling in Britain easier. This was also confirmed with the London paid hand stamp on the front too of the letter. According to the Convention of 1862 between Prussia and Great Britain, the single transit fee between Hamburg and Britain was reduced from 7 to 5 silver groschen. The Prussian Post noted 10 in red on the front to show the double transit fee of 10 silver groschen, equal to 28 shilling. Additional 36 shilling in double rate from Norway to Hamburg, 64 shilling in total. This is the second highest franked cover from the southern coast to foreign destinations. A lot of stamps. According to the first convention of 1854 between France and Sweden-Norway, the rate was similar through Sweden and by steamship to Copenhagen and Kiel. Mail was kept in closed mailbags from Norway to the French exchange office on board the train between Belgium and Paris. Up to 1865, open mail was more expensive through Sweden than by Norwegian ships. This cover is from Kristiansand in 1862 and carried through Sweden under the 1854 convention. On the front, 2/15 in red, the double convention rate of 52 shilling between 7.5 and 15 grams. Single convention rate was only 26 shilling. This is a double rate cover to France in closed mail. So, according to the 1854 convention between France and Sweden-Norway, triple rate was 78 shilling for covers between 15 and 22.5 grams. This cover is not conveyed in closed mail in accordance with the 1854 convention. The cover was transported from Kristiansand in 1859 by the steamship Nordstjernen in the Hamburg line to the Danish post office in Hamburg. Kristiansand didn't have any exchange offices in accordance with the convention of 1854. Only Svinesund exchange office in the winter or Sandnessjøen ship post office in the summer, not far from Christiania, were Norwegian exchange offices in accordance with the 1854 convention. This cover of 78 shilling is the highest franked cover from the southern coast to any country. And the rates, double rate between 20 to 30 grams of 32 shilling to Hamburg, plus 16 shilling in double German Austrian Postal Union postage, plus 30 shilling in triple French postage. In accordance with the Convention of 1857 between France and Prussia, triple rate was raised from 15 to 22.5 grams to between 20 to 30 grams. So this cover is from Brazil in 1870. According to the statement from the General Post Office in 1869, the cover is transported from Rio de Janeiro by French packet to France, and then by French railway to the Belgian border, and further through the North German Union, also by railway. Finally, by the steamship Kong Sverre from Kiel to Christiania. This is a Norwegian steamship. This is the only recorded Norwegian cover from or to South America under the 1868 convention between France and Sweden-Norway. On the front of the letter is an accountancy mark F21 on the front for unpaid mail from outside France. This was applied at the French exchange office on board the train. On the front also the convention rate of 38 shilling to be collected in Norway. Printed matters. Printed matters outside Europe are rarities in Norwegian philately, and only a few are recorded so far. This printed matter is probably the most important Norwegian printed matter outside Europe. The item is from the Danish West Indies in 1874 to Arendal on the southern coast, via Southampton, London, Dover, through Belgium and Germany by railway. Then further by railway to Norway via Denmark and Sweden. The rate is 2 pence, equal to 4.5 shilling. There are recorded 4 covers from the southern coast to the Ottoman Empire, all addressed to Constantinople. 2 of these are in my exhibit. 4 Norwegian covers by the post are recorded to Africa. In the exhibit, there is 1 cover to Egypt and a printed matter to Algeria. Finally, there are recorded 6 Norwegian covers by the post to Asia. The exhibit includes 3 of the 4 recorded southern coast cover to Asia. 1 of the 2 recorded to China and both covers to the Dutch East Indies. According to the Close Mail Convention between France and Sweden of 1854, the rate to Constantinople was 34 shilling. Nevertheless, the cover is carried in 1862 as open mail, not a close mail, in the Hamburg line. Railway to Trieste via Berlin, Prague and Vienna. Ost Denmark on the front of the cover added on the Prussian railway to Berlin. Finally, the Austrian Lloyd line from Trieste to Constantinople. The open mail rate on this route was 36 shilling. 2 shilling more expensive than mail carried under the 1854 convention, but the cover is only franked with 34 shilling. The missing 2 shilling are paid in cash, as added on the reverse in red. This is the only recorded Norwegian printed matter to a country outside Europe. Conveyed in 1873 to Christiania Exchange Office, then in close mail to Algeria in accordance to the second convention of 1868 between France and Sweden-Norway. The rate for single printed matters was only 4 shilling, or 18 centimes, divided equally between France and Norway, and it was only allowed with prepaid or unpaid mail. This printed matter was only partly prepaid with 2 shilling. On the front, 9 centimes in postage due, but the receiver didn't accept to pay, and the printed matter was redirected back to Norway. The last cover is from Arendal on this foil in 1870 to Shanghai, China. According to the Franco-Prussian Convention of 1865, the Prussian accountancy mark P48 on the front for unpaid mail from Norway passing through Prussia and France to other countries. French ship from Marseille to Alexandria, Suez by train, and then by different ships to Shanghai. In black ink on the front, 36 decim in double rate to be collected. This is the only recorded Norwegian double rate cover to Asia. That was the last cover, maybe too much details, but ladies and gentlemen, any questions?
Yes, thank you very much. Now, the good news is that everyone's obviously enjoyed what you've just done because nobody raised a question in the chat. However,
maybe too much details, maybe, and too much international conventions, but I've used a lot of time of international convention, and that's probably the reason for my result at international exhibitions.
yes,
When did prepayment become compulsory? Because it looks like you've got right through to GPU some unpaid mail,
Domestic prepayment.
or yeah, so you needed
Domestic
to
in
pay.
Norway prepayment. Let me see. From the start in the Norwegian
From
Post.
1855, but
Yes,
you could still send it unpaid.
yes, no problem. But from the start in 1647, the Norwegian Post, you can send mail prepaid or unpaid, no problem.
But when
From
you're
the
sending
start.
it overseas, it's the
No,
difficult
not overseas. Only domestic mail.
Yeah.
But overseas, you can start to prepaid mail in to Hamburg from Norway very early. But you have to read the convention if it is allowed or not allowed. But from 1855 is no problem to the most of the world.
But you didn't have to use the stamps then, or
No.
no. No. Thank you.
Something more.
well, as I say, there are no questions in the chat at the moment. If anyone wants to raise a question, that's a good way of doing it.
What about my Norwegian fellows? I see 5
Yeah.
in the start. But not too difficult, please.
I've got a question. It's Gwyn Harris here. I've got not so much a question as an observation. Norway has been my collecting interest since about 1990 until very recently, and in all that time I have never seen such quality material, and it's probably one of the reasons to make me want to pack in, because seeing all this is the only known cover, this is the only known that it's absolutely awesome. But it is in the wrong collection, so if you'd like to just send it to me, I'd be very happy to receive it.
But I collecting both adhesive and non-adhesive cover from an incoming and outgoing mail. That's advance for me for this collection. But because the area is very small.
Yeah.
Close to 200. Norway's been doing.
Norway is close. Norway is small.
Well.
In 1855, we have 1.5 million people. On the southern coast, close to 200,000 people in 1855. Mm-hmm. So it's a small country, but we have oil and gas so today. But we was a very poor country in the old time. Yeah. And very limited mail correspondence compared to Denmark and Sweden. It's not similar like England or Great Britain, of course.
Yeah, that's why my great grandfather left and emigrated to Wales, which was jumping out of the frying pan into the fire, really, I suppose. But he didn't go back to Norway very often, I have to say.
Anyway, we have now got a question also in the chat, which is always good. This is from Alan Mann. Alan asks, as DFDS had a regular route to Harwich for over 140 years, let me just get the rest of this. Did any of the Norwegian ferries in the 19th century link up with them?
But Isle of Man and Norway, a route, that's new information for me.
Hang on. No. Yes, had a regular route to Harwich, which is in...
That's correct, to Harwich. That's correct.
So did any of the Norwegian ferries in the 19th century link up with the DFDS ferry service?
I didn't remember, but please send me a mail. It's no problem to check it up. But I didn't remember.
Okay, good. Thanks for your question, Alan. That's a really interesting point. Right, at the moment, Simon, that's the only question we've had in the chat. And as we know, we had Gwyn with his question as well. So those are the only questions at the moment.
For this presentation, I have 22 pages. Is that correct? An article. Is that correct, Mark and Simon?
Yes.
Oh, your handout.
And
Yes.
handouts and a lot of details, more details compared to this.
What we've done with the handout document, which runs 25 pages, it is available on the website for anybody. It's the thing we go into meetings with documents. It's one of the documents, obviously, that's been linked to this meeting on the website. So you can go there and you can get hold of it. It's a PDF.
And more coming to the London Philatelist articles in the future.
Right, good. Look forward to those, don't we, Simon? Yeah, additional articles.
No, indeed, yes. Well, no, Norwegian covers have been very much in favour at the moment. They're attractive covers. I mean, that 4-colour franking is quite stunning. And there's your exhibit doing well, and Thomas's exhibit doing well. So that Norway, for these 2 exhibits, it's certainly been at the fore of the philatelic world over the last few years.
Yeah, we've got a question.
Maybe that's the oil and gas.
And the first article will be about the convention between Great Britain and Norway, Sweden in 1850. That's the first article for the London Philatelist.
Anyway, you've got a question now from Lars Böttger, who asks, the cover to Algeria, how did you determine that it was a printed matter?
That's correct.
How did you determine it was a printed matter?
I used the convention and the articles in the convention. This is the only solution.
Okay, good.
But please give me feedback. I have to learn more, so that's no problem. But I use the convention and the articles in the convention for my solution. And that's the only solution, is partly prepaid. It was only allowed with prepaid or unpaid mail, but this is the only solution. Not missing any stamps.
Oh, do we assume there was no contents to give you a heads up on that one?
Pardon?
So there was no contents to that particular outer?
No.
Right. It would explain why somebody decided they didn't want to pay the additional fee.
The Norwegian are cheap.
One wonders
we didn't have money in the old times.
Yeah. But wonders what sort of printed matter would be sent from Norway to Algeria. What sort of products would
there are a lot of cancellation on the reverse of the letter in Norway and in Algeria.
Oh right, so
yes.
So you can track the
absolutely. You can track the letter. You can track the letter.
But no idea what they were trying to sell to Algeria.
That's a very good question. And so we're going back to Norway.
We've got a couple more questions are coming in, which is always good. We've got Steve Hewitt, I think it is. Yeah, Steve is asking, is the Norway handbook ever going to be printed in English?
Which handbook?
Yeah, that's a good...
in Norgeskatalogen, Kjell-Åge. That's correct, but that's in Norwegian. No, that's in Norwegian, yes. So, but there are some books in English. I suppose Harry Snorvoll is one of the references in my article. So please read my article on the website to Royal, and there are 2 pages with references.
And
I suppose that's the best one in English. Norgeskatalogen, Kjell-Åge in Norwegian. It's correct?
Yeah. In addition, we have a few sort of passages in English, but they don't give the great detail. It's more sort of telling people what it's all about in the chapters. So, but we'll get there one of these days.
I'm amazed here in the US how many Americans use just Google Translate, ChatGPT. You know, they scan pages from the handbooks and feed it into ChatGPT.
But there are a lot of good information in a collection. Tom Komnes, you have a book now from Copenhagen. I know you hear about me. Tom is correct? I only see 5 Norwegian people, but Tom Komnes exhibit.
Right. Yeah.
And you can go to Cornfila to find the book.
Yeah.
Terry,
It's an edition door. Yeah.
Halvard is mentioning Norway #1 by Tora Gjelsvik. Is in English.
That's correct. Gjelsvik, in Norway #1, and the Hamburg line in English too, by Tore Gjelsvik.
Right.
So you have Norway #1 and the Hamburg line in English. That's correct.
Yeah. With regard,
that's brilliant books.
Yeah. With regard to vessels, right? Alan Mann remembers when working with Fred Olsen that they said they had vessels running to the UK from Visten, Hvisten, Visten, yeah, in 1850 onwards. They were not mail boats, but Alan thinks that they may have been used for conveying the post. So that's interesting that was part of Fred Olsen. Yeah. And Steve Hewitt, I think, was thinking about 3-volume red books. That was the ones he was thinking of that are in Norwegian. He was hoping they might get translated into English.
Yeah.
That sounds like quite a challenge to do all 3 volumes, but there we are. I think that's what Shell was saying, that it might be done eventually, Shell.
Well, the 3 red ones from the 50s and early 60s, they are translated to German. So, if you read German, you have a chance there.
When are they going to be when the Germans one's going to be translated into English?
I think they don't know. I think they're a bit old to work too hard on. It's so much information has come out since the 50s, so I think that would be a waste of time, actually. Could be a chapter or 2, maybe. I don't know. I haven't read the books. I just have it on the shelf in the library at the Royal Philatelic Society.
Right. Anyway,
Kjell-Åge, you know everything about the library in Oslo. That's correct.
You probably have every book that's on your list there, as long as it's in Norwegian. And maybe in English.
But more are coming in English in the future.
Anyway, Simon, I think that was the last question, that one about...
Yes, I think it's time to bring at least the formal part of the proceedings to a close. We didn't get any comments from Hull. I thought we might have done, but at least one person on from Hull. But anyway, Terry, thank you very much indeed. As I say, it's a wonderful exhibit. Thank you for sharing it as over the 2 sessions, and actually a great innovation to provide a handbook. So I would encourage you all to go and take a look on the website. That's excellent. And so, Mark, I think we've got a certificate signed by the President, electronically available. If I'd only done it yesterday, I could have taken it to Monaco and given it to you in person. But there's the certificate. So thank you very much indeed. And you'll have 2 of those now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, we can probably stop recording.